Sci-fi sucks. It doesn't suck, but it's often really hard for me to actually get into something that is sci-fi or fantasy related. Just tell that to the 1.5 episodes of The Wheel of Time that I watched, or the fact that I still don't get the obsession with the 2021 Dune movie. Seriously, why do people go gaga over that bland, boring, and extremely dull piece of... Point is, I can struggle to get invested in sci-fi and fantasy. If it's not dumbed down to the point of something like Harry Potter or Star Wars, it's just a no-go for me, and that's fine. It can be hard to parse exactly what characters are what, which characters are which, and all this preamble and rambling is to say that when I sat down and watched what people call the best sci-fi show you've never seen, The Expanse, I found myself quite interested. Let's talk about why. The Expanse is an American sci-fi television series that aired on Sci-Fi for seasons 1 through 3, and then Amazon Prime Video for seasons 4 through 6. It's based on a book series by the same name by James S.A. Corey, and it's adapted for screen by Mark Fergus and Hawk Ostby. I mentioned that The Expanse was a lot easier for me to get interested in than other sci-fi or fantasy fiction. I think the primary reason for that is that the show really understands how to tell its story in a way that works for someone like me. The Expanse really isn't a huge sci-fi show, at least not in the pilot. It's a show about modern-day politics, prejudice, and societal issues that's painted over a sci-fi backdrop. This is a character-driven show with real people doing real human things. It's not Bling Gorbis and Don Shido traversing Contando to meet Doug Doodoo for the Save the Planet quest. It's Star Helix police detective Joe Miller looking for a missing socialite Julie Mao who got wrapped up in something too big for her to handle. Joe Miller himself, a belter, someone that was abused by cops as a youth and has risen to become the very thing that he was pelted down by, is very interesting and very human. The pilot's transition to Earth-based politics through the lens of Avasarala, the UN Deputy Undersecretary, also grounds you by showing that, despite us being in space on an asteroid belt, Earth is still very much front and center. The show isn't about Bling Gorbis and Don Shido. It's about space freighters trying to figure out how to get back home with a shipment of ice before getting involved in a terror attack. You grow attached to specific characters upon this ship, the Canterbury, only for them to be ripped away from you at the last moment of the episode, leaving you to think about what the hell just happened. The pilot opens up with a level of intrigue too. It establishes that this isn't just a normal sci-fi show, it's a mystery. What happened to this woman? Who is she? Is she the Julie Mao they introduced? What does this mean for the show? Will this come up again? Immediately you're hounded by these questions that may or may not be answered in the pilot, and I think that's really cool because I love a good mystery to start off a show. Ceres Station is probably the single best thing introduced in the episode. World building is incredibly hard for any television show, but it's especially hard for sci-fi and fantasy. What helps Ceres Station matter and work to deliver competent and compelling world building is that it feels like somewhere we could see in our own lives. Go to anywhere in America, any major city, and you're bound to find somewhere that looks like the slums of Ceres. We're introduced to belters and how they're separated. It's all very real. Every character that you need to know about is established in such a clear way that it's hard not to want to keep watching. Again, Joe Miller is looked down upon by his fellow belters. He's betrayed them by becoming the very thing that abuses them and abused him. He's not fighting for a cause. He's not doing anything to represent where he came from. He's searching for a rich girl that just went missing. What makes Julie Mao so much more interesting than these people Joe is turning against and leaving behind? It's a fascinating question that leaves you wanting more. James Holden doesn't want to be captain. He lets you know that very quickly. He's comfortable with where he is. He's in love with a woman that he works with and spends time with every day. They're late on the return to Ceres Station with their ice shipment, but there's a distress call. Holden's uncomfortable with the lack of care toward it, and immediately you're thrust into a decision. And then the transition from logging the distress call and then moving to the Knight, the smaller ship of the Canterbury, you're following Holden's character trait of empathy and the desire to help anyone that he can. Even if he's a simple ice hauler, he's got a desire to save people and to help them. The decision, of course, ends up causing horrific consequences for everybody involved. The Canterbury is destroyed, the love of Holden's life is gone in an instant. The last thing he's told by her is there's something that he should know. What's that? Does it really matter? I think the sad truth about death is that once someone is gone, they're gone. You don't just lose the person and everything they were, you lose everything they are and everything they could be. Everything they could have told you, just gone within an instant. Holden's never going to know what she was going to say, and that changes him as a person. Last words are important, and forever Holden's final moments with this woman will be lost to a mystery that he will never understand. Avasarala's introduction is another part of what illuminates the show's attempt to paint itself as nothing more than just modern-day Earth. Humanity's conquest of the stars hasn't left behind the horrors and disgusting nature of mankind. Immediately, we're introduced to Avasarala's family. How cool is that? She's got a nice family, that's so awesome, and Now she's interrogating a belter and torturing him because he refused to speak. I think the commentary here is pretty clear. I won't state exactly what it's going for, but we know what it's going for. And the contrast between her and her family and then what goes on behind closed doors is a contrast that a lot of American people probably aren't ready to confront. What our government does in secrecy in the background is something that everyone should confront at one point in their lifetime, and the fact that it's in the sci-fi show right here is really cool. It gets you to think a little deeper about everything going on right now. I think it's also important to state that this show doesn't have a traditional pilot. Sci-fi ordered the entire first season at once, and in fact, they released the first 4 episodes of the show online. And you know those first 4 episodes actually feel like a better pilot than what we get. Don't get me wrong, everything I've talked about today is just part of the first episode, so there's so much good work done within the first episode. But if you're not hooked or engaged by this episode, please give the next 3 a look, because they tell a single arc and complete character arcs and get our cast settled into what the show will eventually become. I think The Expanse has a truly wonderful first episode. I really love how it manages to tie itself to modern day Earth. I love how you can get attached to every character so quickly and engage with everything in such an easy way. I've already watched a ton of the show now. I'm in season 3 and it's actually fucking awesome. I can't believe that I haven't even given it a thought to touch it yet.